fist on the table and run the risk that, yes, someone might say you were emotional. But the line between where I think passion ends and emotional begins, it differs for everybody. It's in the eyes of the beholder. So know who you're dealing with. Again, when you're dealing with the guy I was mentioning before, I knew he drew that line a little bit to the left of where I drew it. And so understand it's in the eye of the beholder. But also, when you know your facts and you have your facts, don't be afraid to pound your fist a little bit. And, don't be afraid to be tough. And you know what? If they think you're too tough, and they're going to call you a bitch, you know what? Maybe it's not the right situation then. And I think it's a little bit about you have to find the right situation and get to a place where you're in a powerful enough position that you can change it for the women who come after you. And that's the biggest thing about power is not about your ego. It's about having the keys to the kingdom so you can make it better for everybody else, quite honestly.
Yeah. And then are there any specific ways that you embolden yourself, either in your career or in your personal life?
I think I finished by saying that I think what you said earlier is really apt about the worst somebody could do is say no. And somebody gave me the advice early on, which is when you're really obsessing about something, just play through what's the worst thing that can happen. And I remember early on when I was raising, my kids were little, and all these overachieving moms talk about teaching their kids French and reading to them in the womb. And I had a friend who said, my only goal is to keep them alive. And I was like, that's a good parenting philosophy. Keep your children alive. And it's a little bit playful, but it's a little bit the same thing at work or in any situation is I'll play through the worst that could happen. And as long as it's not, I don't die or my kids don't die or my husband doesn't die, I'm like, okay, everything else is okay then. So you go on a job interview and you don't get it, what's the worst that happens? So you'll go on more job interviews. Now even when I'm interviewing for board roles, I'm like, what's the worst that'll happen? I don't get it. So I'll interview for another board role in a few months. So for me, that's my catch mechanism. And when you play in these high wire acts or C-suite executive, it's you're in the big leagues and there's no safety net. And so you sort of go into work every day saying yeah, high risk, high reward. I could get fired. And so what's the worst that'll happen? I'll get fired. I'll find another job. I'm eminently employable. And once you sort of look at what the worst case scenario is, and it doesn't result in you dying, you're like, okay, I can probably deal with it. So that's kind of my safety valve, I call it I'm not going to die.
I'm not dead.
I'm not going to die.
Yeah. And then,
once I realize that, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be fine. So,
I like it. And just one more, sorry, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
What have I not asked you that I should have? Or is there any closing statement you want to make?
I guess what I would say, my whole thing in life that I've always preached to myself, and I'm very blessed, I have two amazing daughters, is two things. One is, work hard to give yourself choices. So, when they were younger, and they grew up in a high school where almost everybody went to college, but I was like, part of the reason you want to go to college is so that you have choices of what you do afterwards. You may end up doing something that you could have done even without a college degree, but give yourself choices. Work hard early in life to give yourself more choices. You can step off the career path when you want. You can do something different. But put yourself always in a position that you have the choices. And I know not everybody in this world has those choices. There's a lot of people that are living hand to mouth and whose parents aren't able to send them to college. But I feel like in the world that I live in, there's two things I always say. One is, again, do the best you can to put yourself in a position to have choices. And then the other thing, as I say to my daughters all the time, is work really hard when you're young, because trust me, you may not find work as fascinating at 55 as you do at 25 or 35. So again, work hard, live modestly, so that when you turn 50, if you don't want to work 80 hours a week anymore, you still have the financial means to send your children to college and maybe, chase your passions. And so people ask me a lot, they say, well, how did you, I'm 56 years old, I was never, an internet billionaire, and they're like, well, how are you doing this chapter 3 thing, where you're doing a portfolio of things and not one big thing? And I always say, I've lived in the same house for 21 years, I lived in the same house I live in when I was a brand manager. We never traded up. We never bought the big fancy executive house. We never bought the big fancy second ski house and beach house and whatever. We've always lived well below our means, and part of it was so that we could have choices. And I think that a lot of people get really wrapped up in trading up, bigger house, second house, go to Europe every 5 minutes, all of that, and that's great as long as everything keeps going well. My husband and I, fortunately, are very like-minded. We're fairly fiscally conservative, and I feel like professionally I'm the happiest I've ever been, but it's because I gave myself the flexibility to have this chapter. So I guess what I would say is think about your financial wherewithal as part of your career strategy. They're not separate. And living, as somebody said recently, there is such a joy in living slightly below your means that you don't understand until you understand it.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome advice. So that's all I had. This was really great.
Hopefully that was what you needed, and